All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Teacher Lady Show and this segment of Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. I'm Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Today's episode, we're doing a Behind the Book review on a personal favorite. Of course, I'm biased, More Than a Wheelchair, which is a children's book on differences and disabilities. If you have not already done so, be sure to go check out the read aloud first and then come back here for the behind the book review. I will be as impartial as possible. This book is dear to my heart, but throughout this review, I will be going over the glows, what I think I did well, the grows, what are my areas of improvement, how to utilize this book as a resource to have a more robust conversation with your little, who this book is for, and more, all in this episode of Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. You ready? Let's grow. Summary in my own words. More Than a Wheelchair is a children's book that really features advice for other people with differences and disabilities. Now, although that is the main kind of approach of the story, any person could benefit from the words of encouragement throughout the book. The book takes place in a classroom setting where Mrs. Burrell, the educator in the book, invites different people with differences and disabilities, and from there they give their advice. It's a really beautiful way of showing people from those backgrounds that they are seen, that they are thought of, and that they are able to accomplish some pretty spectacular things because we know the power of representation. What was the take-home message, and was it clearly communicated to the target audience? The take-home message is to figure out what your life looks like with your difference or your disability. It is specific to encouragement and really fulfilling your dreams and your passions, regardless of what it is that you think is going to stop you from doing it. So the real take home message is go for it. Go for it all. Do it big. Try your best. The story starts off with Mrs. Burrell kind of stating, hey, we're bringing in different people who have Down syndrome, who are autistic, who have cerebral palsy, because I want you to stop talking so negatively about what you can't do, what you can't accomplish. And so there is really this underlying tone in the book in terms of take home message of you do the best that you can with the cards that you were dealt and who you are, but don't allow it to just be boom, a stop sign. Don't stop yourself from trying because of what you think you're limited to. Really push those boundaries. So it's a book of encouragement. And like I said before, anybody could benefit from these words. I just read it. I've read it a bunch, and it feels good every single time I read it. In terms of target age group, I would go 5 years old and up. The pictures do a really great job of illustrating the story. So at 5 years old, I feel like you're able to lock into a conversation and even make some of those connections. If you have a child who has Down syndrome, really pulling out the page on Kennedy and her experiences make it that much more special and valuable. Who should be adding this to their home library? There are a few groups of people that I feel like could really benefit from this book. For one, if you have a child with a difference or a disability, or if you're a parent with a difference or a disability, just the importance and the value of having a book that reflects a similarity with your family is so important. Representation is crucial, especially when it comes to self-love and development, and it's just important to have. And so if you fall in that category, definitely get the book. On the flip side, if your child is struggling with understanding differences and disabilities, so not even necessarily that they're struggling with being empathetic, but like they're going into grocery stores kind of pointing at people who have vitiligo, or they don't quite understand what it means for a person to be autistic. Utilizing this book as a resource to kind of have those conversations around how we are all different, how our brains work differently, and how some disabilities are physical and some are not. This book as an educational resource, because I am a teacher, is definitely valuable. So those are kind of the two groups that I would say could benefit the most from this story. But overall, it's definitely a feel-good book. It's one of those books you read and now you think you could just do life, right? So you're having a hard day, you read the book, and all of a sudden it's a pick-me-up because there's so much brilliant, thoughtful advice coming from the people in this story. I love that these are real people with real differences and disabilities, with the real advice on how to not even like get past them, but on how to maximize your life and live the fullest life possible with your unique situation. Glows. What I think was done well. One of the things that I think was extremely powerful is the fact that I interviewed people who are actually dyslexic, actually autistic, actually had Down syndrome. So often we share stories without including the people from that community, right? And so we will have a book on a certain culture and we ain't went and talked to nobody from that culture. There is a movie that features this person playing a character with vitiligo and they're using makeup instead of just going to go get an actor who has vitiligo, and things like that really grind my gears because there is so much beauty in bringing in that person to be that thing, to show that thing. And so in this book, the people that are featured in the book, they're not made up characters, they're actual people with these unique differences that are giving advice to other people. And I think that that is amazing. The other glow that I have for this book is the illustrations, specifically because I believe when you were dealing with English language learners, when you were dealing with children with communication differences or maybe developmental delays, there is so much power in being able to understand a story by way of visual pictures as well as the words that are in the book. And this book does that 100%. The book, you are able to get some of the messages from the pictures. So as your child is learning to read, because it is a lengthier book, they're able to still kind of see and grasp what is going on, which I think is really beautiful. And the last glow that I will talk about in regards to this book is just some of the diversity that is shadowed and shown consistently through the book. One of the students were drawn after somebody who is Jewish. One of the students are Korean. One of the students has a hearing aid. You see a boy in a wheelchair, kind of variety of characters and people shown throughout the book, because differences and disabilities are not specific to one group of people, to one type of person. And so having this book really show like, hey, we come in all different shapes and sizes and races and backgrounds is very powerful. And I also, along those same lines, love the surprise element of the teacher also having a disability, right? Because I am dyslexic, I put myself in the story, and it's important for children to understand that not all disabilities are physical. You can't look at someone and just say, hey, you have this going on with you, because you actually don't know. And so things like dyslexia, where looking at a person, you may not be able to fully understand what it is that they experience, is important for your child to understand. And that is included in this book. Grows. The only grow that I have for this book is that it is a long one. This is a long book. And every time I read this book, it reminds me of how long the book is. And actually, out of all 9 of my books, they're all pretty long. They are not your typical good night stories. They are definitely books that are embedded and meant to have robust conversations and meant to be a critical thinking skill, critical thinking resource for children. So that would be my grow, only because when you are talking about some children with disabilities, having a longer book is exhausting. And so this is definitely not a book that you have to read cover to cover, which is probably the saving grace. You can pull out a few pages and read it. You can flip to the back of the book to see the advice. You do not have to read this book beginning to end to understand it. You can literally start on any page. Overall, this is a longer book. And that would be my only growth for this book. Discussion points to have with your child heavily depend on why you pick this book up. So one of the discussions that you can have is if your child is really struggling with their difference or disability and almost using it as a crutch. And so you notice that they're not putting in maximum effort because they're autistic. Because I've had children tell me, I can't do that. I have ADHD. You now understand that this difference of yours is an acceptable societal factor in terms of not trying. And so utilizing this book to combat some of those narratives is very powerful. I believe that every single child has a different limit. That's why individualized education and IEPs are so important, because you can't say, well, they're all fifth graders who have Down syndrome, so this is what they're able to accomplish. That's not true. They're individual people with individual limits, individual triggers. That list continues. So utilizing this book to really encourage your child to find what their limit actually is, what can you try and what is too much, and to understand that better, crucial. Also, as previously discussed, using it as a resource to normalize differences and disabilities, to have more empathetic children who are respectful to the world around them, is also shown heavily throughout this book. So utilizing it to have different discussions around differences and disabilities, around your child's own limits, and around normalizing differences and disabilities will all be great ways to use this book. My final thoughts are that I love the book. I mean, it's my book. I made the book. So, I would hope I love it, but I do love it. And I love it because the reality is people who have a difference and a disability get to see what's possible. You get to read about the autistic doctor who had to figure out what friendship meant and understand social cues. You get to learn about ballet dancer with cleft lip and palate who had to regain confidence after all of these surgeries. You get to see people in action living the fullest version of their lives with this unique element about them. And I believe that's just so powerful. All this week, we are learning about differences and disabilities, how to empower your child if they have a difference or disability, and how to create more empathetic children if they are not familiar with people who are different from them. Okay, be sure to lock into the Read Aloud if you have not already seen that, as well as on Friday we will have a Teacher Lady Speaks episode, which is a crash course where we take all of this and I kind of give you resources and information to help you with your child that might have a difference or disability. All right. And I would like to bring your attention to our Pay It Forward program, which is a really straightforward initiative through the Empathy Library. This program allows us to get books to children in need free to them. Okay, so go on the website, learn about it, donate what you can. I thank you. I appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the newsletter. And until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.